without light.
For about 20 minutes. Quick disclaimer, if you like Destiny 2, awesome. I'm glad you can find enjoyment in something that I can't. However, if you like Destiny 2 and don't want to hear some guy on the internet talk shit about it for however long this video is going to be, feel free to leave now. To those still here, either you agree with me, you disagree with me and want to hear my thoughts, or you disagree with me and you want to find things I said for you to start arguing about in the comments. I'm not stupid, I've been on this website before. So, I love Destiny 1. My playtime in that game is over 400 hours and I'm still playing it. My playtime in Destiny 2 is about 50 hours, which stopped dead in its tracks a few weeks ago. Why? Well, we'll have to make like Max Caulfield and travel back in time a bit to the reveal of Destiny 2. From now on in this video, Destiny 2 will be referred to as D2 and Destiny 1 as D1, for the sake of, well, me not having to say Destiny 7 million times. D2 was revealed on May 18th of this year in a press conference sort of style like you'd see at E3. My initial impressions weren't all too great. I felt like Bungie was presenting the game as if it was like just another DLC expansion like The Taken King or Rise of Iron. To back up this idea was the fact that they said things basically along the lines of saying, hey, there's a new story, there's new strikes and a new raid. Which, you know, that's all fine and good, but like, those were big bullet points for DLCs, and I thought to myself, yeah, I kind of expect that stuff, but it's a sequel, not an expansion. What else is there? And I caught some flack for these comments. If you're watching this video, you know who you are. So that was already a sour note on the game that I was originally really looking forward to. But despite all this, I was still hopeful that the beta would change my opinion and give me something new to look forward to. By this point, I'm in the middle of a long break from D1, as I'd kinda just burnt myself out on it by playing it so much, and I really didn't feel like playing it for a while. Even with my original thoughts about the game being marketed as a glorified expansion, I was excited for the beta, and I was hoping that it'd give me something to change that opinion. Gameplay-wise, it felt almost exactly the same as D1, but that's not a bad thing because D1's gameplay is fantastic. The weapon system was changed. Instead of having a primary, a special, and a heavy weapon, we had primaries, energy weapons, which are essentially primaries with elemental damage, and power weapons, which is where all the special weapons went, such as snipers and shotguns now being paired alongside rocket launchers, but machine guns are gone in D2 because reasons. Like I said earlier, I was on my D1 break, and playing the D2 beta reminded me of how great D1's gameplay is, and I got excited for D2's full release. I had tons of fun playing Control and Endless Veil in the beta, and I enjoyed the Inverted Spire Strike for what it was, and was hopeful to see what D2's full release brought alongside it. The date is September 15th. I was finally able to afford the game, and I couldn't be happier. It's the only thing all my friends were playing and talking about, and I wanted to get in on it as soon as possible. So, I played through the story at first with Jess, but later on with Cody, having a good time with both and overall enjoying it. I completed the story the first day of ownership, but it's not a bad thing by any stretch. It was well developed and written, and I enjoyed it enough to not want to stop playing it until I was finished. So, what's next? Well, there's lost sectors, planet-specific quests, all those adventures I didn't finish, strikes, and the Crucible. I started with strikes since that's where a bulk of my time in D1 went. The strikes themselves are fine, they're strikes, whatever. I know what to expect them to be like, and these are no different, which is kind of disappointing that they play out almost like the exact same as they did in D1, since A, it's not providing any new experiences like in my opinion a sequel should, and B, it's not helping my summer opinion of this game being glorified DLC. But the strikes themselves aren't a massive issue, it's my experience with the rotation of them in the strike playlist. The game has 6 strikes, 5 on Xbox and PC, because LOL exclusivity deals. Hey Xbox players, D1's PS4 exclusive content is now available on Xbox a month after D2's release. Buy the game on the correct platform next time, nerd. Anyway, like I said, 6 strikes for me because I'm playing on PS4. In all reality, it feels like 3. I've seen to only ever play the Pyramidion, Exodus Crash, and Savathun's Song, however the fuck you pronounce the word Savathun. With the PlayStation exclusive Lake of Shadows coming in at a relatively close 4th. I've done the Inverted Spire and the Arms Dealer twice each in the strike playlist, and that's not just some number I'm throwing out there for no reason, that's actually how many times I've played those strikes. Twice each. Fucking hell. The rotation of the strikes and the fact that I got bored of them so fast caused me to stop doing strikes altogether. So that's one thing down for things I have left. What about PvP? What about PvP indeed? You'll remember me saying that I enjoyed the Crucible in the beta, and I did in the full game's release at first while partied up with Cody and Terrence. But everything drastically turned around when I went in alone. You see, D2's PvP is all about team shooting, and prepare to hear that word a lot. If you don't know what that is, team shooting is two or more people both shooting at a single target to take them down as quickly as possible. Which sounds fine as a concept, and is fine, but it's incredibly jarring in D2. See, D2's average time to kill has been slowed down quite significantly compared to D1, so you get accustomed to taking a little bit extra to take someone down or to be taken down. However, team shooting makes all the difference in the world. While 1v1s have been slowed down, team shooting is so ridiculously powerful that there's no reason not to do it 100% of the time. It seriously feels almost instant to get team shotted, which is why I said earlier that it's jarring, because of the difference between regular gunfights and team shooting. But team shooting is something that can be changed should Bungie so desire, so that's not my biggest issue. My personal biggest issues are, first, the inability to select your preferred game mode. Instead, you either play quick play or competitive, with one of the only differences being that most of competitive's game modes being single life, round-based modes similar to Trials. So, if you're someone like me who doesn't want to have to worry about having teammates not capturing flags in control, instead just want to kill people in Clash of Rumble, well, tough shit, time to play Supremacy. I get it, Bungie. Everyone's in quick play, so it can be easier to have better connection in matches since connection and lag were such a big issue in D1. I understand. The other half of my biggest issues are the biggest parts about PvP in my eyes, the change to 4v4, and the map design. I'm just gonna say it right now so everyone knows, I hate 4v4. I think it's boring as fuck. I enjoyed 6v6 in D1 a lot. Was it chaotic? Yeah, but that's what I enjoyed about it. Tell people on these maps with superpowers and abilities just having a good time. I didn't have much of an issue with the map design in D1. I felt the maps fit the gameplay pretty well and suited 6v6 nicely. The issue is that in D2 you can't remove 4 people from all the matches and keep the same map design. D2's maps are just too big for 4v4, and I feel the gameplay of Destiny doesn't fit a 4v4 more esports driven style. I also feel that Destiny PvP will never be a true esport in general, but that's another story for another day. Are there people who enjoy 4v4? Yeah, of course. But this video is about my opinions, and my opinion is that 4v4 is slow and boring and these maps are too big for the player count. I just don't enjoy it and I don't have fun, and if I don't have fun, I stop. And I have stopped. But what about Iron Banner? Iron Banner is Iron Banner in name alone now. I'll refer to her as IB from here. IB's main focal point in D1 is that your light level mattered, even if it didn't matter all that much. So if you were at a lower light level, you'd have a tougher time doing well and so on. In D2, this is no longer the case because reasons. So now Iron Banner is essentially an actual control playlist and Lord Saladin is the narrator instead of Lord Shaxx, and you get Iron Banner tokens for loot instead of actual, loot drops. Now that I've mentioned them, I'd like to talk about the token system for a moment. The token system fucking sucks. This is one of the changes that I hated the second I saw it, because at least I gave 4v4 PvP a try before deciding I didn't like it. I understand the concept behind tokens, but you've got to understand just how unsatisfying it is to complete a strike, nightfall, public event, crucible match, etc., and get tokens instead of loot. Instead, you get the tokens, which you take to the specific vendor at the tower and turn them in for random loot drop, either armor or a weapon. No, you can't choose like you can in D1, because reasons. Once you get past 265 power level, turning in tokens to vendors no longer helps boost your power level unless the gear you get is an exotic or has a +5 mod, which exotics have on them anyway. Quick note, I feel that the mod system is pretty uninspired and disappointing. For guns, all I do is change the element on energy and power weapons and add +5 on kinetic weapons, I think. I don't know, I've never gotten one. On armor, there's slightly more to it, but only slightly. Back to tokens. They're used for almost all loot. Finish a strike or nightfall? Get tokens to give to Zavala. Finish a PvP match? Get tokens to give to Shaxx. Finish an Iron Banner match? Get tokens to give to Lord Saladin. But I'd like to talk about the worst of the token system, tokens of the raid, the Leviathan. The token system works the same as the others, get tokens and give to someone and get loot. However, and that's another big however, you can't turn them in until you complete the raid. You get tokens at the end of every encounter, and if you only finish 1 or 2 encounters and don't finish the raid itself for whatever reason, well, tough shit. I'd also say tokens in the raid are the least satisfying of the token system of them all. In D1, there was nothing like finally finishing an encounter and seeing loot fly out of a chest or directly into your inventory like in Vault of Glass or Crota. Now, you get tokens at the end of an encounter and one piece of loot, if you're lucky. As we all know, there's nothing quite as exciting as finishing a difficult encounter, finishing the raid itself, then going to the tower and giving tokens to a robot. Fuck the token system. So that's PvP down. What about the other content I mentioned, Lost Sectors and Adventures? I'll never forget how much Bungie hyped up Lost Sectors. They said it's all about exploration and you eventually find some good loot at the end. The only exploration involved in Lost Sectors is trying to find out how to enter them. Aside from that, they're so linear that I could probably complete one blindfolded. And as for the loot, it's shit. It's just blue rarity armor and weapons, which are good early on, but stop being interesting really fast. Lost Sectors are this. Go to a place, walk in essentially a straight line, and maybe change direction at most twice, then kill dudes in a major, and then you can open the chest with the blue loot and leave. Lost Sectors are a big disappointment. Moving on to Adventures, they're basically 1 to 2 mission short quests, which are decent, but at best done when you're at the same light level as is recommended, because if you do them after you've leveled or even completed the story and reached level 20, you'd only be doing them for the story and gameplay content because the loot rewards will be, frankly, laughable. One major change in D2 I do like are public events and heroic public events specifically. At first, the format for public events seems relatively unchanged from D1, aside from the fact that you can see them on your map and see the time until they begin, which is a great change. Quick note, another great change is being able to fast travel to specific points on planets while patrolling instead of having to go there on foot or on your Sparrow. The big change made to D2's public events is the ability to turn them into what is called a heroic public event. For all events, there's a specific thing that needs to be done to turn it into a heroic event, which changes the objective and grants better loot. What's the loot, you may ask? Blue rarity weapons or armor, planet-specific tokens, and a chance at exotic and legendary engrams. Fucking hell. I mentioned earlier in the video that I'm still playing D1. You may think it's odd that I'd rather play a 3-year-old game instead of a brand new game, but it's all about personal preference. I prefer D1 strikes. I like having heroic strikes as an option. I like Prison of Elders. I like the heroic story mission playlist. I like the weekly featured raids and the challenge modes in the raid. I like being able to pick what game mode I want to play in PvP. I like 6v6 PvP. I like having private matches as an option. Seriously, why are those going in D2? I like all the exotics providing some sort of unique experience instead of most of D2's exotics, which feel pretty normal and bland. I like Outbreak Prime, Bad Juju, Zalo Supercell, Telesto, Gallahorn. I really fucking like Gallahorn. Sleeper Simulant, Necrochasm, Thunderlord, Crest of Alpha Lupi, Bones of Ao, Ruin Wings, Transversive Steps, and a bunch more exotics that I haven't listed here. I like random weapon rolls. It makes setting the same gun interesting because the base weapon is the same, but the perks on it make it perform differently. In D1, you can get 10 palindrome hand cannons and have them all perform differently, but the same at the same time. In D2, you can get 10 Better Devils hand cannons and have them all perform exactly the same because there's no difference whatsoever between them. I like legendary marks, and I dislike how legendary shards in D2 are next to useless aside from buying exotics from Xur. Legendary marks can be used to buy weapons or armor in the tower from vendors or the faction you're pledged to. I like having factions be available at all times instead of being time-gated content. I like Xur selling more than just exotics. I like strike-specific loot. I like skeleton keys. I like the Court of Oryx. I like Archon's Forge. I like having ammo synths. I like 3 of coins even if I forget to use them half the time. I like Motes of Light. I like having to rank up a weapon to unlock the perks. I like bounties, both daily and weekly. I like killing a boss in a striker raid and see loot fly out of them. I like the customization of your subclass instead of picking 1 or 2 sets of perks and going on your way. And I know that there's specific perks that people would use all the time, but the possibility for different builds were there. I like shaders being one thing that you equip on for all armor and don't go away after you use them and change to a different one. Is D1 perfect? No. But at this time, it's the game I prefer. There's just simply more things I enjoy and more I enjoy doing in D1 compared to D2. Some of my friends have recently asked me if I want to join them in D2 to complete the Leviathan. Every time I've said no, saying that I'm either busy or whatever. In reality, I have no interest or motivation to complete it. I have no interest or motivation to play D2 at all, and that really, really sucks. I really wanted D2 to be something special despite my early beliefs that it looked like another expansion. To me, it does feel like another expansion, but they removed all the good things that came in the last one. I'm highly disappointed with Destiny 2, and I'd be surprised if I ever play it again. If this actually was another expansion, like say Destiny the Red War, I'd be praising the brand new story and content that it brings to an already stacked game. But at the end of the day, Destiny 2 is a sequel that massively changed or straight up removed features I loved about the original. If you're on PS4 or Xbox One and don't have D1 or D2, seriously, just buy D1, the collection edition, whatever, that comes with all the DLC. This game isn't what a Destiny 2 should be. In May, I called Destiny 2 an expansion, but that's not true. Expansions add content, not remove it. Goodbye, Destiny 2.